I remember when Raj Law was backstage flexing. We're like,
Oh my gosh, bless Raj Law. Raj Law is also my nutrition coach, and so he sent me a text this morning about nutrition, and it reads like this.
don't eat that.
He says, my favorite meal so far of yours is that alien toast. I was so aroused. He used the word aroused because that's how you can do business if you're Raj Law.
We're going to talk about words today on the show.
We are arousing words. We're talking about felt art today. Kat's going to love the felt art so much. She's a doll maker and stuff, so she's going to dig that. We're going to talk about words, bad words, and other words. We got a lot to do.
How one becomes a writer and editor of dictionaries.
Yeah, Kory Stamper. I asked her, I said, "Did you just start with A?" Like, okay, A, and then you write the dictionary. She said someday she feels like it. We have LeBrie Rich, artist of many types of things, but also felt art.
Amazing felt art, like recreates food packaging that makes you think you're going to get a pack of Skittles, and it's felt.
It's shenanigans today. This is Kerry's fault, and it is like probably one of the best episodes we've already put together. No pressure that we better deliver on this one.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gorgone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show.
A, V, A, Z. Work through the whole thing in order.
I mean, art comes before AB.
So I still have a dictionary. I don't know how many people actually keep a dictionary in their house, but I got the Brown University Book Award like when I was in high school. And so there's like a little book plate in it. And so I keep it, whatever. Yes, I am a nerd. Thank you for noticing. Nerds are my people.
Oh, gosh. I know. I told Kory that she makes porn for smart people because this book about words is really cool. And then she told me about the next two books, which I probably can't talk about. But Kory Stamper is going to come on, and we are going to grill her on bad words, good words, interesting words.
So I've rarely talked about naughty words with someone who looks so wholesome, and that's what I'm really excited about, actually.
It's a ruse, though. Watch this. This is all a trap, isn't it?
It's all a trap.
Admiral Akbar would be proud. How do you get into this?
Wow.
Like, how does this become? We always want to know the origin story. So you could not have been like some kid at the playground going, man, someday I'm going to write dictionaries.
And then I'm going to talk about swear words on Netflix.
I mean, yeah, not many people are the cadence of people who sit at the playground and say, I want to write dictionaries. I was not that kid. I was just a reader, right? I was an introvert. I stayed in my room. I read everything that came across anything. I mean, it's my dad's a hot rodder. So it's like, I'd read Hot Rodder magazine and then National Geographic. And then I'd steal, bad romances from my mom's, shelf. And then I'd go get Jane Austen at the library. So I, like most people who write dictionaries, I kind of fell into it accidentally. I got a degree in medieval studies with a focus on, like you do, So my degree focused on dead languages. So when I graduated, I ended up, I thought, well, you can't really, what are you going to do with a degree in dead languages? So I thought, well, I stand on the street corner and shout at people. That's about all I'm qualified to do. So I started applying for jobs in publishing, and I answered a want ad. This is how long ago it was. I answered a want ad in a physical newspaper for an editorial assistant at a reference company. And that was almost, that was 23 years ago now. And that was for Merriam-Webster, which is where I worked for 19 years. Now I work for Cambridge Dictionaries in the UK.
And I'd love to hear about that rivalry.
It's not, here's the thing. Everyone wants, if you're a word nerd and you like dictionaries, everybody wants to have some kind of like throwdown between the dictionary companies, right?
Like, I want there's some you're a jet all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, people want to know, is there like dictionary espionage? Do you speak to each other? The fact is there are so few people that write dictionaries for a living. We all know each other. We're all best friends because we all understand each other. All I have to do is hang out with my friend Steve, who worked for a major competitor, and, you know, call him up and go out for a beer, and he'll say, how are you? And I'll be like, I'm in the middle of the letter S. And he's like, oh God. Right? Like, we just understand each other. Like, so that's how I fell into it. I had an interest in language. I had an interest in words. I read a lot, and I just happened to answer a want ad. And once I got the job, then I was like, oh, it's a job where you know within 6 months whether you're going to be able to do it or not, because you have to be willing to come in and you have to know a lot about English, but you also have to be absolutely willing to take everything that you know about English and throw it out the window in favor of describing how the language is used, as opposed to how you think the language should be used, which is what most of us come to it with, right? Like, in my book, I tell a story about how in my training, our trainer, Gil, said, all right, good. The word good, is it an adjective or an adverb? And I said, well, it's an adjective. You're only supposed to use it to describe things. Like, you're not supposed to say, I'm good. That's an adverb use. You're supposed to say, I'm well. He's like, but do people say I'm good? And I felt really terrible because like 2 seconds before he came in, it was like, how is everyone? And I was like, I'm good. He's
You're
like, if
living,
people, yeah,
you're living the Family Feud problem.
I
Like,
am.
you're like, people have the wrong answer, but that's like what they do.
Yeah. And when it comes to dictionaries, if enough people do the quote unquote wrong answer, then your job is to describe. Yeah, your job is to describe the language as it's used. And
you chronicle the bastardization of our languages. Wow.
Yeah, back alley pocket dictionary turf wars. I mean, it's really nerdy turf. I don't know that it's worth fighting over, honestly.
I'm pitch kettled, says Collins. Collins is your kind of guy. I'm pitch kettled. You know, when you said I'm in the middle of S and you were both like, I was like, well, wait, what's the worst letter? Is S the worst letter? Like, what makes a letter bad? So S is the longest letter in the dictionary. S takes up 1/10 of the dictionary. So it's 1/26 of the letters taking up 1/10. And S has big words in it that, I mean, when I say big words, I mean long entries, not long words. Like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, when you're defining words, super easy. It has one meaning, very clear. A word like set or sit has hundreds of meanings. And your job is to go through all of the written uses that you can find and decide, okay, is there a difference between, setting a place at the table and setting something on the table? And if there is, how do I describe that difference? So S is just really, really long. It's got some really monster entries in it. D is a rough letter because all of the words that start with D are depressing and dismal and despairing, right? It just kind of goes on forever.
What about delightful? You get there eventually.
Yeah, but then you got to go through dismal, and then you've got it. Yeah, it's delicious. Delicious. The other thing is, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead, please. You're the guest. I will bring this question back.
All right. I was going to say, one of the other things is, Chris, you made a joke about, like, do you start with A? And no dictionaries start in A. Almost all of them start in the middle of the alphabet because it takes you a while. This is from an old, like, way back when dictionaries were reviewed, which, a bajillion and a half years ago. Reviewers open up to the first letters. So if you start in H or you start in K and then you go to the end of the dictionary or end of the alphabet and then you start in A, by the time you get through A to D, then, like, you've worked all the kinks out in the system. So usually by the time I hit A, I'm like, oh God, we're never going to finish this book. I want to lay on the floor quietly for several years.
Oh, how do you
All right.
feel about one of the different definitions of literally being not literally?
Sorry, Eric, I feel fine about it.
I'm all right.
So thoughts, I mean, this is something that's really interesting. One of the things I discovered when I started this job is that people feel so strongly about language. And that makes sense, right? Like, this is the way that we communicate. This is how I tell you who I am. This is how you tell me who you are. And so we have really strong feelings about language use and what we think of as language misuse. But we also have these views of language misuse that are really based on it kind of sometimes just attitudes of one person in the 1700s that got repeated over and over and over again, personal preferences. So literally, meaning not literally, has actually been around for a really long time, several hundred years. And, you know, you can be upset about it. That's fine. You have a right to be upset about it. Professionally, I think it's great. It's awesome because it shows how language moves. It shows how people take language and change it in different ways. And it's not just one person taking the language. It's sort of this big wave of everyone using literally to mean figuratively, or as an intensifier is technically what it is. But
Carol brings up one of my dad's hated ones, which is the difference between irregardless and regardless.
Oh, yeah. So I have a whole chapter on the word irregardless in my book.
Wow.
And the I'll spoil it for everybody. So I am required, when you work at a dictionary company, you are required to explain to people why hated words are in the dictionary. So I had somebody get really upset, write a letter and say, I can't believe that you have given legitimacy to irregardless. And I was a newbie at the company. I thought, well, we haven't, because it's a dumb not word. And it was entered. And then I had to explain why it had been entered. And as I researched irregardless, I found that actually the way that dictionaries collect language leaves out this big chunk of language that's spoken. Because we only look at what's written. That's all we can do is look at what's written down. I don't have recordings from the 1800s or the 1700s to tell me what people said. And the things that people say and the things that people write, those are two different types of language. So irregardless to mean regardless, it doesn't quite mean regardless. It started life as kind of an intensive form of regardless, like a way to like stop a conversation. So if I had said, my dad is a native irregardless user. And every once in a while, he'll get on his horse and he'll be like, look, regardless of that and irregardless of this other thing, we're not doing it. And that's kind of how it initially got used. And over time, because it was used in sort of more rural parts of the country, it became sort of considered uneducated, even though it's not. Like, irregardless has been used in oral arguments in the Supreme Court. Like, those lawyers are really well educated. So,
Some of them.
Kerry's a lawyer. So, when you were saying that about irregardless and the way your dad used it, I was thinking about two words one word that people misuse all the time, which is moot. When something's a moot point, they almost always type mute or something, which,
right.
Close enough. Good point.
Starts with an M, has a T in it somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And the word "po," which I got from Julian Smith one time, which was the word "po," basically says, "Let's both agree this."
Okay.
It's just a word that skips a lot of conversation because you're like, "Po," everyone has equal rights, and then, which by the way would be the worst conversation ever. So.
Right now.
Right. Yeah.
I just picked like the worst one on purpose.
Right.
But anyway, for the sake of this conversation, I guess is what "po" stands for.
Right.
I don't know where it comes from, but it's just interesting because irregardless sort of fits into those, like, I'm not using this in my logic, so we're not going to do that. Oh, right. LeBrie, what you just said backstage, for hells to the yes. We need to, speaking of hells to the yes, that's my transition.
Okay.
Swear words.
Swear words.
So the way I envision this is that Nicolas Cage called you and said, "Hey, Kory, you need to come here and talk about swear words with me. You seem smart." Like, how did that happen? How did you get
You seem
engaged with
effing smart.
Netflix talking about swear words?
So it was not Nicolas Cage. I
Ah.
did not get to meet Nicolas Cage because we filmed everything
And
during
COVID.
COVID. I know. So maybe if there's a season 2. The showrunner had actually the showrunners had read my book, and I used to do videos for Merriam-Webster, and I've done some videos for other places talking about sort of the origins of common words, and I did a couple of videos for a place called the AV Club. One of them was on asshat, and one of them was on vajayjay, which is not a bad word, but headed bad word.
Adjacent.
So
Bad word
yeah,
adjacent.
yeah, it was bad word adjacent. So the showrunner saw that and called and said, "Would you be interested in possibly doing this?" And I was like, "Yes, I love swear words so much, and I love the history of swear words and the use of swear words." So that's how it ended up happening. It was very weird.
I loved hearing that, like, in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, bitch was not noted as offensive until you got there and we're like,
it was not. Yeah.
Was that not there?
Yeah. That was pretty crazy because I talk about this in my book too, but if you like going through, it's clear that it was just bad editing. Like someone had tried and someone else came in and was like, "We got to cut this entry by 4 lines," and just kind of took out all of the bits. Yeah.
Is
so
it
there's
though?
nothing moral about it. It was just like, the way books get made.
Yeah,
I always thought the dictionary would be like as long as it had to be. You actually have limits.
Yeah, print dictionaries have so many limits. So print dictionaries are based entirely on market research. Like, who's going to buy a dictionary? How much will people spend on a dictionary? We start there. And so we come up with $28 and not 29 and not 27. 27 is the mark of a cheap knockoff dictionary and 29 is too expensive. So $28. And then you work backwards. Okay. $28 plus production and distribution costs. That means that we have this many pages. If we have this many pages, we have to do this many pages for the explanatory matter in the front and the extra matter in the back. And that means that we have 2,100 pages for the A to Z. And then we divide that up and then it ends up. So by the time it gets down to me, like the slob who has to write the definition, it's basically your mandate is to be as accurate and concise as possible. So a lot of the weird dictionary ease that we're all used to, like the state or condition of or pertaining to, all of that came about as ways to save space. So yeah, print dictionaries are really tightly bound by that kind of thing. Online, no, because who cares? Like,
right? No, exactly. The longer, the better. More examples. Kat says strict unbending grammar rule seems to be to me like making a corset out of chiffon. That's not how that works.
Yes, Kat. Yes. Amen, Kat.
But are you now like the swear word expert? Now you're going to be the person that gets to do the like every one in the dictionary.
Right. I had that question too, which is like when you show up on a Netflix show like that, do your dictionary pals all go,
She's a dirty girl.
You seem pretty confident saying that C word like that.
I mean, what's funny is there is so pretty much every lexicographer has areas of subspecialty. And for some weird reason, when I was at Merriam-Webster, I ended up with a lot of profanity. I ended up revising a lot of like the big 3, right? Which I won't say on the show because,
but they start
early. They start with F and S and then A. Those are 3 that I worked on and pretty much revised fully. So everyone's
every day
like the show going.
Skip the C word? That's the one I'm wondering about.
I didn't get to do the C word, but okay. No, we.
Let me break it. I have to ask a question that I will die if I don't ask you this question.
Hey.
The C word is absolutely super cool to use in Britain. They use it the way like we'd say like fart. The C word here is like the I triple dog dare you of swear words. Like if you've gone that far, if you called another human that word,
Right.
Knives are next, right?
Yep.
Why?
Totally.
Any idea why?
I think that it's probably because of sort of the Puritan history of America. Like, blue laws in New England were a big deal, and blue laws covered sort of everything. So I think it's because of that. And I also think, like, in Britain, it's not like it started out as a much more like working class acceptable thing, and it's sort of made its way sort of further up. But there's still a group of people in Britain that would be horrified if you called somebody the C word.
Okay.
Yeah, but those are like the people on the crown. Like we're not going to interact with those people.
Right.
Probably much.
The Queen Mother's not going to use the C word. Right.
I can't believe we're at the end of your segment, but I'm sorry. One last question. Me too. Jonathan Harrison had one question that we had asked in email even, so I need to know your public answer for this.
All right.
Do you obliterate everyone in Scrabble, or is everyone too frightened to play with you? I don't play with somebody. I don't play words with friends with somebody after I got crushed.
Everyone is too frightened to play with me, which is ridiculous because I am terrible at Scrabble. I'm bad at it for so many reasons. It's a strategy game. I'm not great with strategy. The other problem is occupational hazard. There are times when I will play a word and I'm like, I know that this is in the dictionary because I drafted it, but it hasn't been entered yet. Like, it hasn't gone through the whole cycle. So yeah. Kory, so no one plays with me. That's very sad.
Nobody will play with me either. No, we're gonna have to play.
Yeah, we're totally. We'll get that going on.
Something. So there's some confusion about what the A word is.
Can I just say the A word?
Yeah, go.
Sure.
Ass. It's not all that.
That's the easiest A word ever. Like, you can even say that on regular TV now.
I know, it's true.
It's really not that bad. Like, you could see an uptight soccer person. I was going to say mom, but that's offensive. Soccer parents using it for the referee and not even like getting in trouble.
Yeah, it's true.
And here I feel like soccer mom should be in the dictionary. All right, Kory, we got to put you away, but stick around. We'll bring you back.
Yeah, don't go away.
Bring you back. We have felt art. Book. LeBrie Rich felt art. Oh, that book is swell, word by word. Grab it.
Actually, really hard to get now because thanks to the history of swear words on Netflix, Kory's like on fire. So good luck getting the book. We'll try.
We have so much more to do. Listen, I'm going to blow through the ads so fast because we got to grab LeBrie Rich. So sponsors, you are loved. Love you, sponsors. Thank you. Hey, make your own. People like Kory could use a site like PubSite to promote her book. She could go to pub-site.com, make a really quick, easy website. It takes like a couple hours. You're done. This thing is free for 14 days. It is $19.99 a month. If you don't want to make your own damn site, you can pay them $499 US. Damn's not in her top 3, so we're good. $499.
Build it for you.
I am still not fixed this graphic, so hey, StreamYard, see brogan.me/StreamYard underneath my little graphic. That means you can make a show just like this. You could have felt artists. You could have dictionary wizards. This is like, you could do it. Make your own show.
Swear word experts and set your own rating.
Yes.
PG-13.
You wouldn't believe it, but we're sponsored by Johnsonville Sausages. Carol sent me a nice graphic to fix this, and I looked at it and I thought, you know what? No, I like it broken and dumb looking like that because that's me. Johnsonville is the.
They have like a transparent logo.
They do. Carol sent me it, and I was like, nope, it's sitting on my desk, waiting for me to think about it.
It's a word for people like you, and Kory probably knows it. Obstinate.
Obstinate. That's a good word. Listen, you want sausages? Email. Here's a sentence. If you want somebody to slip you the sausage, Kerry at chrisbrogan.com. You can get them Johnsonville sausages. We will send them to your house as long as you have to make us some videos.
Whoa, Carol apparently drops the F-bomb like it's nothing. So
Anglophone jaws.
Not surprised. I mean, I do too, but I'm from Boston, so.
Kat's favorite swear word: douche canoe.
I do like to say things that actually aren't swears, but sound like they should be, like dill hole.
Dill hole's good.
Like that.
Well, listen, speaking of dill, that's a food, isn't it? We know an artist.
Yeah.
Now imagine you have an artist that can make anything they want, and they say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a Ritz cracker box because that's what I want to spend hours doing is using a pen and making a Ritz cracker box. First, I'm going to bring the human. then we'll start grabbing out some art. So LeBrie Rich, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
This is nuts. Why that? Why you're like, I think I'm going to really embed a lot of my time. And so you say, how about a Kit Kat bar?
Well, it didn't start with the Kit Kat bar. I've been working in felt for about 15 years, and I started making accessories, wearable things that I sold at museum shops. And then I kind of got the idea to remake famous works of art in felt. So I did a Picasso, I did a Joseph Albers, I did Matisse, I did all these famous, I called them masterworks out of felt.
Because
it seems
my
good.
masterwork.
And then I kind of got to making grocery store food items out of felt. And it's like so fun for me. Each one is a little puzzle of how can I render all this detail and make all the fonts and make all the graphics, accurately in this difficult material.
Can you educate us really quickly on what it means to do some felting? Can you even sort of show us some of the product in 3D?
Yeah,
so
for
we can
sure.
talk about it?
Yeah, I have. So the tool that I'm using, this is called a felting needle. And it's not a needle like for sewing that has an eye in it. It has little barbs on it. So that's the tool. And then the material that I work with is wool, sheep's wool. So this comes off the sheep and then gets washed and cleaned and then dyed. And then the way it works is you take the felting needle and you stab. So it's really fun. Like this, and then it mats the fibers together. So it's almost like embroidery a little bit, or a little bit like an applique technique.
I feel like it has to take like a gazillion years. How do you do
it's
it?
pretty time consuming. Yeah, it's time consuming, but for some reason I love it.
No, I mean, the end result is spectacular. Did you make all those little donuts? Like we saw the bag of Hostess donuts.
Oh,
They're in there,
this
like
full of donuts.
I would never have the patience. It's amazing.
Time I just do the outside of the packaging. So here's one I did in March.
Oh, right, as we should.
People must have been so mad. They were like disappointed it wasn't an actual roll of toilet paper.
I would have made a lot more money if I just sold real toilet paper. So you can see like each individual letter. You can mirror image problems. Each individual letter is felted on. So it's like super precise.
Wow.
Yeah. Super
and so
fun.
it's a build up kind of art as well, right? So you a lower layer than another layer than like that kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's correct. So like here's the little Debbie Swiss rolls. So you can see like I started with this dark brown and then laid a lighter brown on top, and then came into this end here and add the whipped cream and all that stuff. So in that way, it's very much like painting. You're building up the surface with both texture and color. So layering colors on top of each other to get different visual effects.
So Kat has a question that makes me think her answer is yes. Have you ever felted cat fur? It's so awesome to work with.
I haven't personally, but I have a lot of students who have. I also teach people how to do felt making, and it's actually kind of a little niche world. And I have had inquiries for custom works. Somebody had their cat die, and as a gift, they wanted to collect the fur and then give it to me to make a hat for their wife.
And you were like, really though?
No, we didn't. I mean, I thought it would be hideous, but we didn't go through with it ultimately. But yes, that is a world. The whole felting of the cat fur is a world for sure.
Do you want a cat? Because I think there's one available.
I know a cat you could felt all you want. But,
I kind of do want a cat. Can we talk about that?
We could talk about it. Where are you located is one question. And what is your website? LeBrie.com is one of your websites, and the other is penfelt.com.
Yeah, I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I'm catless. If anyone wants to reach out with available pet material, I'm available.
Stay on after the show.
Yeah, connect with me.
You should know one connection between both guests is that Kory is also a knitter. So,
yeah. So we have the fiber connection.
She says fiber artists are amazing. She loves your art. Commenting.
We also have
the
asshat connection.
That's right. Well, and I didn't even get to ask if she's a big fan of Knit a Please, because that's if I were gonna knit, then I would be involved in like knitting street art.
Yeah, dude, that stuff's so cool, isn't it?
It's really cool. Well, to that point, so you're a lot of your art is, especially the felt stuff, the recreating of the foods and all that. That's really been an evolution. I mean, that's not,
Thanks, Kat. Kat's saying you don't kill the cat. You could like use the cat fur without it expiring.
Oh, humanely harvested cat fiber. Okay.
I mean, obviously you want to keep the cat because you need the source material.
Yeah.
that's my interest in it, but okay.
Shade grown, fair trade.
Right.
You kept going with this. Like you made TV dinners. Like that's I'm absolutely fascinated by like the beers, and I'm fascinated by the Swanson and all that.
Yeah.
When you get ready to start a project like this without a commission in mind, someone's, you're just sitting there, you're fit farting around, you're looking at your wool going, man, I got a lot of green and orange. I guess I'll make peas. Where does that start? What's the genesis in your head?
Chris, so often what I start with is the product itself, because I've found that these grocery store food items have this deep emotional resonance for us. And it's so powerful, like the reaction that people have to these sculptures. I mean, I've never made work where people walk into the gallery and they're like, you have to make gummy bears or whatever, like it's so deep, these the connections that we have to these brands and these products. And it's something we all share, all of us, because they're at every Stop and Save everywhere in America and even in the world. So for me, it's really starting with the product, the logo, the typefaces, all of these, thousands of human hours have gone into the designs of these products. So to me, they're quite beautiful. And so to render them in this unexpected material makes us see them in a different way.
Well, because I had that exact experience on your website.
Really?
I'm like, look at that. Oh, Swanson TV dinner. Like I had all those. And
it's
then I
deep.
clicked.
It's inside of us. It's almost, they touch a very deep place.
But then I clicked Masterworks. This is what's supposed to elevate us to new places. This is what's supposed to make our brain get bigger. And I was like, oh, Ce n'est pas un pipe. I know that work.
Yeah.
You know what I didn't do? I didn't go, like I did with a TV dinner.
Well, I would argue that there's not a lot of propaganda trying to sell us any of these paintings. And the messages that we get all the time from the corporate food companies are like, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, They're engineered to excite us. And it works.
You have a fish.
Yeah, that's a mullet. I did this mullet march in Florida when I was at an artist residency. People dress up in all mullet related items, and I made that earring.
See,
yeah,
there's the Cadbury mini eggs and the Cadbury.
Ooh, I haven't made mini eggs. That's a good idea, Kerry. I'm gonna add that to my list.
Cadbury cream egg would probably be more fun.
Yeah, those little shoes that you can see there, those were little Nike Air Maxes that I made. They were commissioned for Nike, and supposedly they were going to give them to like Kanye's whatever. I don't know, as a promotional thing. I don't know if that ever happened. I think it was just somebody's dream there that they commissioned me to make, but that was fun. So like try to make a baby booty in the style of an Air Max.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, everything for me, it's just about the creative challenge. It's like, can I do it? Can I make this? Can I make this thing? I mean, that's the fun of it for me, is the problem solving.
This certainly solves some problems. These are your big window displays and all.
Oh yeah.
When will you commission a Johnsonville sausage?
I could totally make a sausage. I've made a hot dog before. That's just 1 degree away, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And all I'm thinking when you're saying this, I know it's felting and you have to do this, but all I'm thinking is like with clay, but it's probably not how you make it.
So as Debbie points out at Women's Leadership Live, the funny thing is most people can tell you their favorite Swanson dinner meal. Hers is turkey.
Right.
Apparently. How long do these projects take to complete? I mean, obviously it depends on the project, but.
Yeah, it varies a lot. I don't know. I think that Swanson box that we're looking at right now took me about 3 weeks or so. Maybe more. I mean, I've definitely gotten more skillful as time goes on, so it's gotten faster, but it takes a long time. Audiobooks are my best friend.
When I was just looking at the TV dinner, the one thing I kept thinking over and over again is, if you're a painter, you know what you're going to do to make that glaze look on the berry dessert.
Yeah.
When the felt, you're sitting there poking a bunch of white in.
Yeah.
At sort of different depths and whatever, and sort of having to sneak some pinks in there, like to try to make that liquidy glaze and also the gravy is probably the hardest part of that meal.
Yeah, the things that are shiny or a little bit sheer, like you said, those are difficult to achieve. And also packaging has a lot of cellophane and clear pieces so you can see what's inside. So I've played around with that in different ways. I've used acetate, which is clear, so I could see, we could see the donuts underneath. And I've also made candy out of silk chiffon and then done felt over the top of it. So it had like a sheer look to it.
Okay, so did you make a bag full of those, or did you just do like 2, stick them to the front?
I did like 4, and then I like stuck them down inside and tried to carefully place them so they would peek out the window in an attractive way.
We get to the hard-hitting questions here on the Backpack Show.
There's a lot to think about.
Well, yeah. I mean, all the pieces are weighted, so they all have like, I'll sew a bag with some rice or something on the inside and put it in there so that it stands up straight, because otherwise they're quite light and they kind of lilt to the side, and I want it to sort of have the heft of the original product.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, we're at the part of the show where I drag Kory Stamper back in, and it's not going to be that hard at all to find alchemy between you two. But it is interesting to think about the fact that both of you, I mean, Kory, you get assigned dictionary work, obviously. Like, so you can't just rogue go, I'll just take X and Q. I'm a little tired. But you both kind of go after your own projects. And that's something we find a lot on the show, is that if you let the world do it, they'll give you things to do. But if you choose what you're going to do, you go after it. How do you both relate to that? I guess I'll start with Kory.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the thing that I chose to go after was a thing that I myself was really interested in, which is swearing. Well, even like the thing that's so fascinating to me about language is, and I really, LeBrie, when you were talking about people have this deep resonance with these objects, I totally get that with words. People have these deep resonances with words, whether they're positive or negative. And so like chasing after that, like, how do you take this word that just people have feels about and break it down for people and contextualize it for people? And how do you make this thing that people use every day interesting? How do you make them see it in a new light? So that's me. Your turn, LeBrie.
LeBrie, what do you think?
I already forgot the question.
That's okay. The world can work on you, or you can choose your own adventure.
Oh, yeah.
How did you get to do that? There's so many artists who are great artists who are also incredible baristas.
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, there's a couple things, but one is I grew up, my dad built log homes. So I grew up in a log house, a log cabin in the woods. And our house was the show home. So when people were thinking about they wanted a log cabin, they would call up on a Sunday, and my dad would hang up the phone, and we'd all have to like vacuum and clean and put away our stuff. And then me and my brother had to hide upstairs, and we were not allowed to come downstairs until the log kickers left, which I didn't realize until a lot later. That was like tire kickers, but for logs.
Right.
Anyway.
Put it in the dictionary, Kory.
Yeah. Log kickers are coming. So for me, I would just say the way I was raised, it felt natural to do your own thing and to sort of make a business and make a life with making things and sharing it with people. And that's kind of what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan says that an interview about crafts and dictionary writing is way more interesting than most people believe.
It's so true.
Jonathan, we're just scratching the surface, my friend.
Yeah,
Stick
you have
around.
no idea.
Just scratching with a pointy felt needle.
I got a history of swear words, but don't do it with your teenager, because like you won't hear anything. They just laugh over the whole thing.
All right, I have one personal story about swear words. When my son Harold,
so many.
he was 5. What was he, like first grade or something like that? Mm-hmm. We get a call saying that he just used the F word 5 times in a single sentence. And the teacher said, and we're not really allowed to say this to him. And then she smirks a little and goes, but it was actually grammatically accurate. he had used it in several different contexts in one sentence. So, we gave up on swear words awful early in our household.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I get it.
There's no question
I got in
there.
trouble for calling a girl an asshole. And I'm like, but she was.
Yeah,
So
accurate.
I never saw the problem with it.
Hey. So,
Oh, this
come
is a
on.
great point that Debbie makes at Women's Leadership Live. It's very interesting how each generation is often critical of the one coming after because they're messing up the language, how people criticize texting and language usage. I mean, that's got to be, texting making its way into the dictionary has to be someone's fighting that on the way in or no?
Lexicographers aren't fighting it on the way in because here's the thing. There's two things to keep in mind. The first is everyone has been complaining about young people ruining the language, like back to Socrates. We just don't like change. And we see young people doing things that we think are terrible. And we forget that when we were kids, we also did things that were terrible and like-minded. So, I get a lot of people who will be like, I heard you entered OMG into the dictionary and I'm outraged. And it's like, okay, yes, but why were you not outraged when we entered ASAP and BYOB? Like the abbreviations of your youth. Why did that not bother you? So that's the first thing. People have always complained about people, usually young people, ruining the language. The second thing is that tons and tons and tons of these things that we think are new are not new. OMG is a great example. The first use of OMG was in 1917 in a letter from Admiral John Arbuthnot to Winston Churchill.
What?
Winston Churchill ruined the English language.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. I was just looking at the wrapper that you had on Instagram. You had edited like the little Dove chocolate wrappers have messages inside. And it said something about, so you said, yeet the season.
Eat this season. Yeah, this is what my family does for Christmas. Like some families get together and bake cookies, or like when my kids, I have adult children, when they come home, we eat chocolate and we vandalize the wrappers and make our own slogans.
I love some of the other examples you have. I don't have my Instagram logged in, so if I try to make it bigger, then it wrecks everything right now. And I liked Lexical Gap as a beer.
Oh, yeah. I did have it. I'm not fond of it. Was an IPA. It was a fine IPA. I'm not fond of IPAs, but that's okay. Lexical Gap is a beer.
Oregon is 85% IPAs, I think, so lol what in the notes underneath one of the books was really good too. So it's always fun to see how words get chopped up. So listen, we have to head to the end of the show. I can't believe how fast this ran. So we're going to do person of the day. And we are going to do the backpack question. So our person of the day, I have to find, there it is.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
We do this. I'm going to give it to Carol. Carol with her francophoning, Carol with her talking a little bit about the various ways you do it up there. It was a tough call. I also wanted to get it to Kat for her chiffon corset. That was a really good one as well. So that's that. And now we are on to Jonathan was a pretty good contender today too. I don't think I could give 3. That would be bad. All right, we have the last thing, which is the backpack question. See, I could have a little felt backpack. The question is, what goes in your backpack? So it could be something physical, like an avocado. It could be something metaphorical, like hope or determination. Kerry, what are some of the best ones out there?
Fearlessness, vulnerability, and sense of humor.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sense of humor. Whiskey Nate said a book you don't like. That's
not my favorite answer. My favorite answer was Nikki Porcher, who started Buy From a Black Woman, and it supports black female entrepreneurs. And so we asked her, what goes in your backpack? And she said Black women. And we lost it. She and I both lost it completely. When I realized what she had
laughed so hard.
We laughed so hard that the next time we brought her back to do like a holiday thing with us, we couldn't even get through it because we just started all over again. It was like a big mess. So yeah. So the standards are high.
A lot of laughing. So anyway, whatever comes to mind. So I'll start with LeBrie Rich. What goes in the backpack?
I think for me, curiosity goes in the backpack because I teach people how to do felt making, and it's always so interesting to see, I teach people how to make a penguin or something simple, and then to watch the wheels turning, and the next thing is like, what if I put a bolo tie on it? or like what if I put a cowboy hat on it, or what, to like start to use that muscle. I think it can extend out to the greater world, and the curiosity of what's it like to be a rural person, what's it like to be inside of that skin, what's it like to, I think more curiosity in the world would serve us all well. And there'd be more mini bolo ties on penguins. True story.
I have so many things I want to say back. So, Kory Stamper, what goes in your backpack?
I think literally 20 ounces of strong black coffee will get you through pretty much anything. But metaphorically, I think a combined sense of joy and absurdity. Because there's so much, with the curiosity too, there's so much that you find that that doesn't make sense. Especially, for me, even doing, even when I'm defining a word that seems really straightforward, there are times when I run into something that's just like, I don't even, how do I respond to this? What is this? And you can react one of two ways. You can reject it out of hand because it's different and you don't want to engage with that, or you can sort of take joy in its absurdity. And I feel like there are just some things that make no sense, and that's great. There's something great about encountering something that's so far outside of your own experience and your own understanding of something like language, and just kind of letting it be there. I'm just saying, all right, that's weird. I love it.
Like, today I'm looking up the etymology of yeet.
Yes,
what's happening today.
That's what we're doing. Well, and when LeBrie mentioned the penguin and a bolo tie, I had just watched a documentary about Aardman Studios and their Wrong Trousers episode, and I immediately was thinking of this guy.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yes.
I love that glove that he wears on his head.
It's
Rubber glove.
amazing. The best.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, look, and this is kind of a almost felty looking version. So
Yeah, such a good villain.
yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And in the
Absolutely.
documentary, this will appeal to LeBrie for sure. Is in the documentary, one of the things like actor Martin Freeman said, when the penguin just turns its head, that a human just tilted that plasticine a little bit each frame. But the look that the penguin gives you, he goes, it's comedy genius from a chunk of clay. Humans don't make people laugh like that.
Oh, that whole, if you've never checked out Wallace and Gromit, you have to. There's a scene where it's like very tense, and Gromit's looking through like some holes in a box and watching the evil penguin do some bad stuff, and it turns and looks. But then he's like, oh no, I'm made. And then he walks away and you can't figure out what. Then they show the box and it's like got a dog on the box. His eyes are like right in the right spot to look out. It's just so
good.
You gotta check it out. It's a little dark, maybe not for the little kid, but it's good.
So fiber arts being what they are, my last comment is that my grandmother used to crochet, and she crocheted a lot. She made a lot of things she didn't know what she was making. So
Swear words.
I was an X-Men fan, and she made me the Nightcrawler mittens instead of mittens, so I had the cool 3-finger mitts. She was like, I don't know what I'm making, but the kids love them. And she made like 10 of them or something. And I always joke that crochet is basically knitting when you lost one of the needles. And she had something to say about that.